Our Unitarian Universalist bylaws affirm 6 values centered in love and inseparable from each other. On the 6th Sunday of the season, we call to mind the 6th such value, equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. This week, we invite you to pass the peace with Shalom Aleichem, and the response is Aleichem Shalom.
Shalom Aleichem, Susan. Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem.
That was a very passionate passing of the peace. Aleichem Shalom, Bruce. My favorite will always be the coming. That's my favorite.
You're going to quiet the mob down?
Should we call him in? Are you ready, Sarah?
Hey, good.
Our opening hymn is number 134 in the gray hymnal. Please stay standing as you are willing and able and join us in singing. Good morning. I'm Elizabeth Williams, she, her, your celebrant this morning. A special welcome to our visitors. If you are here with children, there is childcare, or feel free to keep them seated with you or utilize our play area in the back of this room. Our First Unitarian Church is located on land that has been home to humans for 12,000 years, starting with the people of woodland culture and later the Iowa, Sauk, and Meskwaki. Other animals, such as the timber wolf, once roamed these lands in much greater numbers. As we enter this space, the ghosts of humans and other animals past are among us. We are called to join in the work of education, reparation, and healing for all species. Centering ourselves in our place in the cosmos, We had a new moon on Thursday, and the moon is waxing crescent. Nag Panchami, a significant Hindu festival dedicated to snake worship, is on Tuesday. For newcomers to our congregation who may be curious to learn a little more about us, every first Sunday of the month we have a curiosity conversation after the service. The next one will be on Sunday, August 3rd. And now, we light our chalice. On the sixth Sunday of the season, we dedicate our chalice to our value of equity. Please join with me in the chalice lighting words from this gentleman that I did not look up how to say, in your order of service. Each morning, we must hold out the chalice of our being to receive, to carry, to give back. We are a people of covenant, not of creed, and we express our covenant in our denomination's bylaws, our bond of union, our mission, and our relational covenant. Please join me in speaking the First Unitarian Church of Des Moines' bond of union. We covenant to associate ourselves together for the study and practice of morality and religion as interpreted by the growing thought and noblest lives of humanity, hoping thereby to prove helpful to one another and to promote truth, righteousness, and love in the world. Our responsive reading today is We Are a Bridge by Leslie Takahashi. It will be on the screens. I will say the words in white. Please respond with those in yellow. We celebrate our desires to stretch our wings towards where we wish to fly and soar free.
And thus we make a bridge.
We affirm our commitment to remain connected to those who are still earthbound and captive, remembering that a bridge may be a footpath or an umbrella.
And thus we offer a bridge.
We acknowledge our own desires and also our interconnections with one another. We honor our own hearts and also the hearts of our neighbors, friends, and fellow inhabitants of this ever-perplexing world.
And thus we are a bridge.
Today's story is Neighbors by Kasa Davinsky. I know my new address by heart, 3 Ponds Lane, Building 2, Apartment 12, and I finally have a room all to myself.
But if you stop to think about it, my ceiling is someone else's floor, and my floor is someone's ceiling.
I wonder who lives right above me or below. What if I could stretch my hand through the wall? Would I touch someone? Are they home right now? Do they even exist?
Or maybe my building is my only neighbor. Maybe there's nothing beyond these walls at all.
But today is the day to find out. I step out and the hallway smells like toast. There's a hum, maybe a vacuum or a washing machine, and somewhere, someone's singing.
Someone is my new neighbor. Neighbors are really all around me.
What are they doing right now? Maybe brushing their teeth.
Or watching the clouds drift by. Maybe they're just like me.
And tomorrow, I'll meet my new classmates. I wonder what they're like.
Do they look like me? Or are they different in every way?
Maybe we'll laugh at the same things or draw the same silly doodles. Maybe we'll share snacks or secrets. I think I'm ready.
I used to think I was alone in my room, but there are people above me and below me, beside me, all around me.
Someone is always there, because we're all neighbors here.
Chapter 26, Fausto Sozzini, Early Years. When Lelio Sozzini died in 1562, at the age of only 37, he left behind little more than a trunk of books and manuscripts inherited by his nephew Fausto Sozzini, then aged 22. Young Fausto had begun early to reject orthodoxy. 3 years before, at age 19, he'd been denounced by the Inquisition. He had fled to Zurich, and it was there that he received his inheritance, his uncle Lelio's papers. Fausto Sozzini studied his uncle's legacy with care. From those manuscripts, he discovered an insistence that reason is an authority equal to Scripture. Within months of encountering his dead uncle's works, he wrote an essay, his first published work, in which he took the anti-Trinitarian position that Jesus was divine by office rather than by nature. Within a year, we know from a letter he wrote, he rejected the immortality of the soul. Still, in 1563, Fausto returned to Italy, outwardly conforming to the church, and served as a secretary in the Florentine court for 12 years. Though he later regarded these years as wasted, during this time he wrote On the Authority of the Holy Scriptures, widely influential for viewing scriptures as historical texts. Leaving Florence in 1575, Fausto Sozzini moved to Basel, Switzerland, and devoted himself to close study of the Bible. In 1578, at age 38, he finished On Jesus Christ the Savior, in which he attacked the doctrine of substitutionary atonement, the idea that the sufferings of Christ are accepted by divine justice as a substitute for the punishment due for the sins of the world. Rather, argued Fausto Sozzini, Christ is our Savior because his teachings and his example show us the way of salvation, not because his death paid off our debt of sin.
Where's your guitar?
No guitar. Just got me and Bruce. I am open and I am willing to be hopeless would be so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up to the light of change. There is hurting in our families. There is sorrow in our town. There is panic across the nation, and there is wailing the whole world round. Still I am open and I am willing, for to be hopeless would be so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up in the light of change. May the children see more clearly. May you elders be more wise. May the winds of change caress us, though they can burn our eyes. Yet I am open and I am willing, desert to hold my fears. Give me a sunset to hold my wonder. Give me an ocean to hold my tears. We can be open, we can be willing. To be hopeless would be so strange. It dishonors those who go before us. So lift me up and you in the light of change. So lift us up in the light of change.
I'm Ellen Taylor, she, her, a pastoral care associate for our congregation. You are invited to call the pastoral care team if you're going through any significant transition in your life, just to talk it over or for a listening ear. Reach out to us at pastoralcareteam@ucdsm.org. You can also request assistance or submit a joy or sorrow through the Caring Community page on our website, or by speaking to me or any member of the pastoral care team. Bill Brock shares that on July 22nd, his mother passed away under hospice care in Bill's hometown, Waukesha, Wisconsin. Geraldine Brock was 93 years old. She was born in her parents' home in Genoa City, Wisconsin, in 1931. The little children and small animals of this world all lost a dear friend when she passed. Visitation and burial will be held August 1st in Waukesha. Bill and Karen and Rachel will miss her deeply, as will her sister Linda and her sister-in-law Fabiola. A memorial service for Aaron Keller is planned for Saturday, September 6th in Kansas City. The family is trying to determine if folks would be able to get to Kansas City for that service, which is going to be quite special, with several musical guests who worked with Aaron, or if a second service in Des Moines should be considered. You can help that family out by answering the survey in the intercom. Now, please share aloud or in writing the names of those you are carrying in your heart today. We light 3 candles this morning, one for the joys and sorrows that were shared aloud, one for those shared in writing, and one for those held silently among us.
Okay, I guess we're on.
Our response to the meditation is meditation on breathing, which is number 1009 in the teal hymnal. This is actually a round, and so I would like to suggest that we sing first the bottom part, the drone, which is the simplest part, and then those people can continue singing that, whoever wants the simplest part through the whole thing, and then we will add the top part, which is the melody, and then after that, whoever knows the higher descant part on their own can add that in, and we'll just do it 1 or 2 times with everyone in. It might sound complicated, but I think we can do this.
Want to start with just the easy part?
Yeah, we'll just start with the drone.
Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Very good.
From the Tibetan Lojong teachings, training in compassion today is come back to basics. Nothing is so apt to pull us away from the basics of spiritual awareness as relationship with others. When our lives get powerfully drawn into the lives of others, and those others awaken our desire, our rage, our shame, or our fear, we lose track of what we are doing. When this happens, come back to basics, of which there are 3. First, renew and keep to your commitments. When you keep in mind that your human life and the lives of others are rare and precious, that you and everyone else has to die someday, that no one escapes suffering, and that all of your words and deeds and even thoughts and feelings have big impacts on the world. When that is part of what you are aware of, when you are aware of conflict with others, things change somewhat. These reflections can take the edge off your hurt or aggression. Recall your original intention to take up mind training. Second, don't act outrageously. That is, refrain from dangerous, antisocial, or attention-grabbing activities. Keep your efforts to practice the discipline of human relationship within the bounds of ordinary human interaction. Don't appear to be different from anyone else. One way or another, we're all in this game together. Third, don't be one-sided. Usually we are exactly one-sided. There's our side, and it's important, correct, and right. But there's always another side. Don't be one-sided also has another sense. Don't favor people you like over people you don't. Try not to be one-sided in that way. Succeeding at this isn't the point, but trying is. The point is to notice how much in almost all of our encounters we are subtly prejudiced by our one-sidedness, constantly upholding ourselves and those we like, and running down, in however small a way, those we don't like. We may not be able to have equal feelings toward all, but we can take our one-sidedness into account and do what we can to de-emphasize it. We come now to the offering, recalling our value, equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. In gratitude, then, we give, for in gratitude we receive. The Jewish organization HIAS, which seeks a world in which refugees find welcome, safety, and opportunity, tells us the Tripitaka highlights the importance of cultivating 4 states of mind: metta, loving kindness; muditha, sympathetic joy; upekkha, equanimity; and karuna, compassion. There are many different traditions of Buddhism, but the concept of karuna is a fundamental tenet in all of them. It embodies the qualities of tolerance, non-discrimination, inclusion, and empathy for the suffering of others, mirroring the central role which compassion plays in other religions. The Torah makes 36 references to honoring the stranger. The book of Leviticus contains one of the most prominent tenets of the Jewish faith. The stranger who resides with you shall be to you as one of your citizens. You shall love him as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Further, the Torah provides that you shall not oppress the stranger, for you know the soul of the stranger, having yourselves been strangers in the land of Egypt. In Matthew's gospel, we hear the call, I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. And in the letter to the Hebrews, we read, let mutual love continue. Do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing that, some have entertained angels without knowing it. When the prophet Muhammad fled persecution in Mecca, he sought refuge in Medina, where he was hospitably welcomed. The prophet's hijrah, or migration, symbolizes the movement from land of oppression, and his hospitable treatment embodies the Islamic model of refugee protection. The Holy Quran calls for the protection of the asylum seeker, or al-Mustamin, whether Muslim or non-Muslim, whose safety is irrevocably guaranteed under the institution of Aman, the provision of security and protection. As noted in the Surat al-Anfal, those who give asylum and aid are in very truth the believers. For them is the forgiveness of sins and a provision most generous. And now, Connie Ryan, Executive Director of Interfaith Alliance of Iowa, will expand on these ideas of caring for strangers.
Good morning. Thank you so much to Elizabeth for inviting me to join you this morning, and always for the warm welcome that I feel when I am with you. Many of you know a lot about Interfaith Alliance of Iowa, but perhaps there are a few here who do not. We will celebrate our 30th anniversary next year, and although we began locally in Des Moines, we have been a statewide organization for the past 29 years. We are nonpartisan and issue-focused. At our core, we protect religious freedom while ensuring religious freedom and religion are not misused to harm and discriminate. We work to defend democracy and safeguard people's rights. We challenge voices of religious extremism. We do all of our work through education and advocacy and ensuring there is a strong, progressive voice in the public square. And we are committed to doing the work in civility. That last part has been hard the last few years. First Unitarian Church is a partner in the work that we do, and many of you support the work that we offer to our communities. Your church supports our work as well, and we are grateful for all of that. The story of the Good Samaritan is arguably the best known of the parables in the Christian text. You most likely know the story, but I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version just in case. A lawyer is being smug with Jesus and is quizzing him. He asks Jesus a few questions, ending with the question, "Who is my neighbor?" Jesus answers by telling a parable, as was often his custom. A parable is a story with a moral lesson. The man gets beat up and left for dead along a road. A priest walks past him. Another dude, the Levite, walks past him. The Samaritan, and the Samaritans were detested and looked down upon in that area at that time. The Samaritan stops, helps the man, takes him to an inn, and cares for him. Jesus then asked the lawyer, of the three, who was the neighbor? On the simplest of levels, the Good Samaritan story teaches us to be kind to others, a valuable and important lesson, but there is also more to the story. When I was 10 years old, my family moved to Des Moines for my dad to become one of the ministers at a church here in Des Moines. That first summer was a little tough because all the kids in the neighborhood had grown up together. Some of the girls welcomed me and included me as their neighbor. They invited me over to their houses. We played in the backyards. We became friends over that summer. One of the girls was not so excited to have me in her territory. She often found ways to exclude me as the outsider rather than welcome me as a new friend, as a neighbor. We never became friends in the 8 years we lived on the same street together before we went off to college. There was a reunion a couple of years ago with most of the women who grew up on that street. I tried to be friendly with her, and she mostly ignored me. I don't tell you that story to have you feel sorry for me or to take my side, although you definitely should take my side. I tell the story because people are complicated. Intellectually, I know that her excluding me had little to do with me, but was about power and her own insecurities. But tell that to my childhood heart. Power is a funny thing. Those who have and those who have not, those who want and those who say they could care less until they do. Senator Cory Booker once said, "The power of the people is always more powerful than the people in power." It's a nice sentiment, but I wonder if it's true. When the people in power have unrestrained, almighty power, can the people ever be more powerful? Can we claw back power? I suppose it depends on how close we are to the edge. We see power saluted and wielded in many areas of life these days, within families, in sports, in big business, even in nonprofit advocacy sectors, certainly in politics, and yes, even in the world of religion, arguably the sector over history with the most consequential fights for power. Couple religion with politics, and most tragic alignment of power can happen. Which brings me to Christian nationalism. It's funny, I get a lot of pushback on that name, mostly from Christians, because they are offended by the term. Folks want me to rename it something other than Christian nationalism, and I tell them that it's above my pay grade to do that. I get it, I do. But here's the good news in a storm of bad news these days. Christian nationalism is not Christianity. It's not. It has nothing to do with the teachings of Jesus and God's love, which is the core of that religion. Christian nationalism is one form of nationalism. There are others. Christian nationalism is an ideology, not a religion. Christian nationalism claims that the United States, our democracy, is a Christian nation. It is not. Christian nationalism is about power, not about the common good. Christian nationalism is about promoting bigotry and hate against an array of people rather than love of neighbor, actively othering people who do not align with or look like those who perpetuate that bigotry and hate. Christian nationalism leans on conspiracy theories, lies, and violence rather than safeguarding and amplifying truth, community, and peace for all people. Christian nationalism is on the rise, and its growing chokehold on our democracy is alarming. Now, to be clear, the church has a long history of targeting various groups of people and misusing the sacred text and the institution of the church as a means of separating the haves and have-nots, establishing barriers, justifying bigotry and discrimination. There are plenty of reasons to mistrust the church. But there is also hope. Denominational movements are on the rise to atone for the sins of the past and to more urgently support and work alongside marginalized groups, establishing new patterns of power based in love and dignity and respect, not exclusion and hate. There's much work to be done with much promise ahead. As I said earlier, a hallmark of Christian nationalism is the idea that our democracy is a Christian nation, their one true faith and their civic life melded into one. Today's Christian nationalist agenda includes a long list: inserting ultra-conservative Christian beliefs into public schools and into our government and public life, targeting religious minority groups, which really does cause a rise in hate crimes, abolishing LGBTQ rights, targeting and terrorizing immigrants, whitewashing our history of systemic oppression and racism, banning abortion and in vitro fertilization, diverting public dollars to religious institutions, censoring or banning books, entertainment, and art, and the list goes on. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? With our nation's founding, the vision was to form a more perfect union. It's certainly not perfect. Never has been, never likely will be, but the ideals and the promise of our nation are something to aspire to and should uplift the hopes and dreams of every person. The agenda of Christian nationalism does not believe in those possibilities and certainly not opportunities for all people. If asked, who is my neighbor? Those following the Christian nationalist agenda would answer, it depends. It depends on the neighbor's nationality. It depends on the neighbor's race. It depends on their immigration status. It depends on their sexual orientation and gender identity. It depends on their religion. It depends. And who is my neighbor? I don't think the answer, it depends, is what our more perfect union is supposed to be. Who is my neighbor? Your neighbor looks like you and also those who do not. Your neighbor shares the same life experiences as you and also those who grew up quite differently. Your neighbor is the family who lives next door and those you'll never meet. Your neighbor shares your values and also those who do not. That last one is hardest for me. How do I love my neighbor who is racist and xenophobic? How do I love my neighbor who is homophobic and transphobic and misogynistic? How do I love my neighbor who is anti-Semitic and Islamophobic? How do I love my neighbor who perpetuates myths and lies about others, elevates hate and bigotry, incites violence? I struggle with this as much as anyone. I think about some of the elected officials and leaders of religious right groups who perpetuate and spew hate. How can I love them? How can I ever bring myself to that? Yet do I really get to pick and choose? Doesn't love your neighbor mean love your neighbor? We can all learn from the teachings of many religious traditions, such as the Good Samaritan story and those that Elizabeth read earlier, to care about all people. You know the Unitarian or Universalist principles affirm and promote, and we heard some of them earlier, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another, and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, just to name a few. The principles draw from our many resources, such as wisdom from the world's religions which inspire us in our ethical and spiritual life, Jewish and Christian teachings which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. Perhaps loving our neighbor simply means caring for every person as a human being. Interreligious relations leader and author Joel Lohr wrote about the subject. He says, although the ideas of love and neighbor seem self-evident, they are also more complex than we often realize. We are not always as good as we may think we are in loving rightly and without exception, even those of us who believe in our bumper stickers and the signs in our yards. In short, his message was, love thy neighbor is hard work and at times complicated, but it's fundamentally important. Loving our neighbors, all our neighbors, it is hard work and certainly not for the faint of heart. We will get it wrong, undoubtedly time and again, but we must also work to get it right, even when we don't want to do the work. Love your neighbor across the street and around the world. Love your neighbor who is straight and who is queer and who doesn't understand why respecting pronouns is important. Love your neighbor who is white and black and brown. Love your neighbor who is Christian and Jewish and atheist and Pentecostal. Love your neighbor whose ancestors fought to win our independence and who have newly arrived to experience the freedoms of a great nation. Love your neighbors regardless of what they do and what they don't do. So what do we do about Christian nationalism in that context? Love your neighbor doesn't mean we just accept the hate and harm in the world. Loving your neighbor is the reason we must find ways to challenge the hate and work tirelessly to heal this nation, especially disempowering those who amplify the words and actions of Christian nationalism. What do we do about Christian nationalism? My challenge to you is to get in good trouble. It's not a phrase that is unexpected. Many of us know it. I wrote in our weekly e-newsletter this week, civil rights leader and Congressperson John Lewis was the driver behind that challenge. He lived a life strongly committed to get in good trouble, necessary trouble. He also inspired each of us to do likewise. The struggles we face today call for all of us who believe in the common good to get in good trouble. Get in good trouble for the rights of your neighbor and yourself. Get in good trouble to ensure religion and religious freedom are not misused to harm. Get in good trouble to protect our democracy, not allowing it to become an authoritarian theocracy. There are many ways to get in good trouble. You know many of them. Non-violent, but certainly causing a ruckus. So where do we start in pushing back on Christian nationalism? Number one, learn more. Learn more as an individual, learn more in your community. I would point to the Interfaith Alliance of Iowa website for a resource guide that can help you with that. Talk with friends and family. Make a commitment to talk with friends and family, always listening to understand, but always being brave to make sure that you are open and honest and sharing with them your concerns about Christian nationalism. Work together, don't reinvent the wheel. Join us in doing this work in a number of other organizations. Collaboration makes all of us stronger. Speak out. We can never cede our voice or our power individually or as congregations. We need you to speak out. Hold those who promote Christian nationalism and perpetuate hate and bigotry accountable. It will take all of us. It will take all of us every time. Love your neighbor, no equivocation, no reservations, no passports or documents, no religious test, no identity or demographic qualifications. Love your neighbor because of their humanity. without reservation, but most definitely with expectation. Love your neighbor, and also, without reservation, get in good trouble every day. May it be so.
Thank you.
Please rise and bow to your spirit for our hymn in the gray hymnal number 318, We Would Be One.
Please join me in saying the extinguishing chalice words in your order of service or on the screen. There we are. This beacon of peace, this torch of liberty, this fire of justice, we will take with us in our hearts, that it may light the way to peace and justice for every child of this earth. Go make good trouble.